1 to 3 unit 1, 2 and 3. So till functions you will be having your syllabus, right? I hope it's audible to you guys and you get to know the things. You will be having the examination on 24th, very first paper. Syllabus is unit 1, 2 and 3 of your syllabus, right? So you just check the content of the syllabus, right? Access specifiers, that is already in unit 1, then encapsulation, abstraction, each and everything, right? Unit 1, 2 and 3. Again, I'm repeating. Okay. So let's start with our today's lecture. What we have seen last time, that you all know, right? The access specifier, how it works, and the class syntax of the class, how you can hide the data in the class. So you are making everything as a public one. I mean, some of your data members and the member functions. So there would be no direct entry through this private area. Instead of that, people can only access your public area, but via public area you can have the indirect access but the limited access of this private area. So they cannot directly manipulate your data, they cannot directly assign any value, right? They can only do this via functions, that's it, right? And we have seen this thing, right? What is private, public and protected one. Okay. And we have seen one of the example, then access specifier. This is not the valid one, right? Because you are accessing the private member, right? From outside of the class. That is your integer main. So this is the error. You cannot do this. Fine. Same way the value of x is this. This is again the error. You cannot do this. And we have seen one of the example that how you are creating the object and how it works. Right? Then the default access specifier. If you are not specifying anything, so at that time your default access specifier is the private one, right? So here you have not mentioned that this is the private integer number and the character name of 20. This is what you have written. But if you will write this or you will not write this will be the private one. Here you are specifying that, okay, this is the private one, integer number, character name of 20. But here you are not specifying, then also it is the private one. Because if you are not writing anything, means it is private. Getting the things? So in 1 marks, it can be asked that when there is no access specifier mentioned, by default, what could be the access specifier of a class? So the answer is private. Getting this thing? Yes. And I'm audible to you guys,
Yes,
hopefully,
ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, okay. Fine. Here, different types of variable in C++. Fine. One is local variable and one is the member variable. Now, how you can differentiate that this is the local variable and this is the member variable? How you can differentiate this thing? So, a variable that is declared inside the method, that is called local variable. And a local variable is a variable declared within a body of a method or within a block of the code contained within the body of the method. So you can see that this is the local variable. So say suppose anything that you are creating inside your function or your formal parameters, these are known as your local variable. And what is the member variable? So I'll simply show you the example at very next, so don't worry. And what is the member variable? Member variable is that is a member of a class. So what could be a scope of that? Opening braces and the closing braces. That would be your class scope, and within this scope, your member would be accessible, then it is known as your member variable, right? It could be a class variable, it would be a static member variable, or it is a member of an object instantiated from that class, means your instance variable, right? It could be anything. So it must be declared within a class, but not within the body of a method of a class. So say suppose I'm having over here one class A, right? And within this class scope, I'm having this integer variable A, okay, and integer float variable B. Now in the public section, I'm having one method that is a void get data, okay, and in this method, I'm again having integer x comma y, right? So here, can you see this? Which one is the local variable and which one is the member variable? Can anyone tell me this? Anyone can unmute and answer.
The main x and y are the local.
Yes, correct. Right, these are the local variables and these two are the member variables. Why? Because the scope of integer A and B is throughout your class, your opening to closing braces. Okay, so these are known as the member variables. And if your class is having any method, and inside the method in this scope you are declaring any of the variables, then this would be local to your get data function only. You cannot access your x and y over here because its scope is within this opening and closing. That's it. Okay, so this is called known as your local variable. Getting my point? Again, see the same definition. Local is a variable declared within the body of a method or within a block of the code contain body of a method. So you can even say that if I'm having such kind of things like integer x comma integer y. So again here x and y, you can say this one is the local one. Why? Because they are the formal parameters of the method. Okay, and here you can use x and y. Here you can use x and y through this block. So they are again the local one. That is why. So you can even declare this x and y within the method, or you can say that as a kind of parameter. But they both are the local one. Here is the example. Say suppose you are having integer number. So that is the instance variable, or you can say it's a member variable. Here you could even be having a static kind of variable, right? But here a static, that is again a 8 marks of question. That is the different thing that we will see in our very next lecture, right? What is the static data member and what is the static member function? That is the most IMP question, 8 mark question, right? But I'm just showing you right now that you can even have your static variable over here, and that is again known as your member variable. So that is fine. Fine. And then you are having this void sum. In that you are having integer x is equals to 5. That is your local variable because it is declared within your function, that is void sum. Fine. In void sum only you are having this in this curly braces integer x is equals to 5. Okay. So the instance variables are declared inside a class but not inside a method. That is known as your instance variable, or you can say member variable. And your local variable are declared inside a method including the method arguments. So you can have your formal parameters, right? But they are the local one. Getting my point? What is local variable and what is the member variable. Okay. Now, how we are creating the objects. So, class is a blueprint which is containing only the list of the variables and the methods, but no memory is allocated for them. So whenever you are writing any of the classes, suppose this is your class sample, integer number, so and so. So you are having a list of the variables and list of the functions. But here the memory will not be occupied by just writing the class template. Okay. Or in another words, you can say that the class declaration provides only the template and does not create any memory for the objects. But so when the memory will be occupied? So whenever you are creating the object, at that time only the memory will be occupied. So once the class has been declared, we can create the object of that type by using the class, right? It is just like your another data type. So whenever you are writing your or whenever you are creating the object of your class, say suppose here you have declared your class A, but just writing integer A and float B, it will not create the memory like 4 and 4. It will not create. It will not create the memory space for this variables. Here you have just declared this variable would be a member of class A and this would be a function that is a part of class A. But when from integer main, when you are creating the object, so how you can create the object? Class name and the object name. So here I have chosen name as an ABC, that is my object name of which class? Class A, right? So at this time, whenever the object is created, at that time memory will be created or occupied. Getting this thing? Fine. So it is very simple to create the object. You are just writing your class name and whatsoever the variable you want as your object name that you need to write. So here say suppose the class is the item, so you can write like this item and whatsoever the variable or object name you like. So item X, it is very similar to like integer A. So here integer is your built-in data type, right? And you are creating the variable of it. So here item is a user defined data type, means your class, right? And you are creating a variable of it. They both are very similar in syntax, yes, no, but this is known as variable of integer data type, and this is known as object of class item. Getting? This is variable of your integer data type, built-in data type, and this X is not, we can say, a variable. Instead of that, we are saying object of the class item, right? Which is a user defined. You have created it. So it is very similar. Okay. You can even create the object just like your structure. Fine. In structure, you were used to create the structure variable like this. Whenever there would be a end of your structure and before semicolon, you are writing the variables. So same way you can create even your object. Say suppose class item, right? When opening and closing, and before the semicolon you are writing X. So this is nothing but you have created the object X, right, of the class item, just like your structure, if you remember it, right? Fine. The next is difference between the class and object. What would be the difference of this two? So the class is the container which is a collection of variable and method. It is nothing but a kind of box where you are putting inside the variables as well as functions. So it's a one single unit which would be having your variable as well as the methods. Right? It is just a container. And the object is what? It is an instance of a class. So by the object only, the outside of world will access your class public members. Isn't it? So it is a kind of bridge between the outside of world and a class. It is a kind of bridge, or you can say the object is an agent. It's a mediator by which you can access that things of your class. Right? Second difference is no memory is allocated at the time of declaration. Okay, no memory is allocated at the time of declaration, but sufficient memory space will be allocated for all the variables of the class at the time of declaration. So once you are creating the object, you will be having a separate memory that will be allocated for the variables. Now, why not for the functions? Can anyone tell me this? Memory will be occupied only for the variables but not for the functions. So I can show you this here. In one space your functions will be stored, right? Stacks and everything will be there over here at one place only. So memory will be occupied to the function but at single time only, and functions are here. Now whenever you are creating the object, say suppose you have created the object named as A. So at that time, so this is your class, say suppose, right? And you would be having the variables like integer, float and character. So integer, then I'll be having float, salary and the character. Okay. So right now I'm just taking character n something. Okay. So I can say that 1 byte, here it would be 4 byte, and here it would be 4 byte. So total 9 bytes will be there for one class person. And now I'm creating the object that is person p1 from integer main. I'm not writing right now integer main and all, right? But from the integer main, I'm creating one object named as p1 for the person, right? This is your class person, which will be having any input. Just ignore it right now, but it would be a 1 byte, right? Or if you are taking this name of something, say suppose, right? Then there would be 30 bytes. You can say that. Okay. And integer age and the float salary. Okay. So whenever you are writing your class, at that time memory will not be occupied, not, right? But whenever you are creating the object of that particular class, at that time only memory will be occupied for the variables, right? So if I am having any kind of functions over here, void get data or something like this, or put data or any functions, right? So for that functions I won't be having any space for a particular object, right? For the particular object, I won't be having that. So here, this is my P1 object, and P1 object is having three different data types: integer, float and character. So integer, float and character. This many bytes will be occupied when the P1 has been created. Getting? So P1 is having 4 bytes, This float is again having 4 bytes, and this character will be having 30 bytes or something like this, right? Same way, if I'll create another object, right, that is P2, right, and here instead of the salary, let me take the marks so I can relate it directly with the student, right, with the student. So say suppose you are one person, P1, and I can take any of the name over here. Say suppose this Suryabali, right? So this is one person, one object, P1. And I'm taking the data for that person. So name is a Suryabali, whatsoever is the age and whatsoever the marks or the final result he is getting. Okay, so that is a float result. Getting my point? That is for one person. This is the data for one person. So here the details of Suryabali, that is P1. Now I'm creating another object that is P2. Again, it would be having integer, float, and character kind of details. And say suppose that is Jeet, right? So data about the Jeet, the name is Jeet over here, whatsoever the age is here, then the result of the Jeet that will be over here. And the another separate space, memory space will be created to store his detail. So here the details object. The same way, if your class is of 65, right, I will be having a different 65 objects over here. P1, P2, P3, P4, and so P65. So here the different 65 blocks will be generated. Yes or no? Getting my points, because this thing is not there in your any of the book. Fine. But this thing is important to make you understand that how the memory will be occupied. Okay. So again, P3 would be the block, P4 there would be a block, P5 and P65. So different memory will be occupied for the different objects, because all the object details are something different. So P1 is not having any relation with the P2, right? So each and every objects are the separate one. They are not connected with each other. Okay. But the functions, whatsoever the function, for example, get data or void put data or something like this, these functions are common, which will be accessed by all the kind of objects. So I will be having those functions over here at one place. At one place. No separate memory space will be occupied according to the object. So here the function will not be having 65 copies. Getting my point? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So here the sufficient memory space will be allocated for all the variables of the class at the time of declaration, only for the variables. Fine. So one class definition should exist only once in a program. Only single time you can declare your uh, class definition, right? Only single time. You are not writing class sample and some of the things, then again class sample, then again some of the things. Only one time in a program you are defining your class, right? But you can create multiple objects as many as times that you want. So you can create as many as objects that you want. So P1, P2, P3 and so on, right? Number of objects you can create. But the class definition will be only one time in your program. Fine? Then representation of the class. So how you can represent any of the class? So say suppose you are having one class item over here. In that you are having some data and functions. So in data section you are having two private variables, number and cost. And here in functions, you are having get data and put data kind of functions. Okay. So now in this item, if you are creating any of the object even, so how it could be accessible? What could be accessible from the integer main? Only the public functions, of course, because this I have given as a public, say suppose, right? So this public get data you can access, this public put data you can access, or any other functions are there. If it is a public one, you can access it directly. So these are only the entry points of your class item. You cannot access the data directly. No, you cannot do this. Fine. You can only access the public member functions. Okay. So this is the representation of class. Now here, how you can accessing your class members. So here the main cannot access the number and cost variable in our previous example directly. Directly this number and cost cannot be accessed because it is the private one. And if even if it is a public one, you cannot directly like number and cost. Instead of that, you need the object name over there, right? When you are writing that object name dot whatsoever the name and cost is there, then you can access if it is a public one. But here what I said, my number and cost is the private one, so you cannot access it directly. But instead of that, you can access the public member functions and you can call it. You can call it via what? Object name, of course, right? So object name dot function name, and in parameter in this square braces, small braces, you are having your actual argument between this parenthesis, right? So this way you can access any of your function of a class, but it should be the public one, otherwise you cannot access it, right? Yes or no? Right. So here x dot get data, and you are giving some value. So this way you can call this function. Same way put data, but you can call with this object name which you have created for the item x. So here x is nothing but the object of class item, right? Accessing the class members, this we have already seen, but once again we'll see this. Say suppose a variable declared public can be accessed directly, that is fine. You can directly access those variables which are the public one. But you cannot access the private variables, right, directly, but indirectly you can access it via your member functions. Here I'm having one class xyz, I'm having integer x, but the public integer z. So x is private, z is public. From integer main, I'm creating the object of my class xyz, that is p, and I cannot assign the value like p dot x is equals to 0. I cannot assign it because x is the private one. But I can assign the value directly like p dot z is equals to 1 because z is the public one, right? Getting my point? Now, defining the member functions. There are the two ways how you can define your member function. One is outside of the class and one is inside of the class. Whatsoever the example that we have seen previously, right? We were having this example at the last in our previous session, right? And here we have defined our function inside the class. Inside the class, void get data, void display. Inside the class, you are providing definition, or you can say body part of your function, right? But there are another way that how you can define your function that is outside the class. Outside the class. So how you can define your function outside of the class? So for that, for example, you are having your class item. Okay. In that, you are having two variables. One is integer number and the another one is the cost. Okay, number and cost. These are the two variables which is inside your item class, and these are to the private one. Now I want to have one public function that is void get data, which would be having integer a comma float b. This is what I'm writing everything inside over here. So this is my inside declaration. I'm writing my function inside the class item. But what if I want to write this function outside of the class? So here there would be not having any curly braces opening and closing. Instead of that, you will be having just semicolon. So here inside the class, you have just declared your function, but definition you are giving outside of the class. Outside of the class. So how you can write your function outside of the class? Only one thing, because nobody knows this get data function is from which class. This get data function is from which class, because we even don't know who the Jeet or the Surya Bali. I need to ask that, okay, you are from which class? So you will say that you are from TC2 class. So I'll get to know, okay, you are the student of TC2 class. So I don't know what is this get data function and it is from which class, because in future it may happen that you would be having more than one classes in a single program, because you would be having the inheritance concept, right? And in that you would be having your parent class, you would be having your child class, you would be having many child classes, right? Child A, child B, child C, D, lot many child are there, right? The children, but we can say these are the child classes. Like, I'll not use the word children, right? Child classes. So each and every class would be having, say suppose, the same method: get data, get data, get data, get data. So this get data is from which class? So I need the label. So label is that this get data is from item class. So here is the item, scope resolution operator, and then the rest of the things are the same. So what you need to do, again I'm writing this thing, I'm deleting this, and again I'm writing. What you need to do, if you want to write your function outside of the class, simply the return type, your function name, your function arguments, the same way you are defining your function outside of the class. But the only change is what? After your return type, in front of your function name, you will just label your class name that this function is from this class. So I'll simply copy this, paste, and then scope resolution operator. So that's it. And now here you can define your function but outside of your actual class. Getting this thing? Yes or no? Hope I'm clear to you guys.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Okay, fine. Back to PPT again. So here I've given you the same example. Say suppose this is void item. right? Get data is my function. In that I am having one integer that is for number and one is a float that is for the cost. Cost would be in float, right? But number is an integer one. Same way I'm having a put data function, and I've labeled with my class name that is item, and I'm just printing the value, right? So these are the two function of the class item. So what I'm doing in this function, number is equals to a and cost is equals to b. Why I am doing this thing? Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me? Here, my number and cost, these are the private variables, right? And now I want this value from the user. Okay, this is my task. Number and cost I'm having, and this value will be entered by the user. Now in integer main, I cannot directly write like this x dot number, and I can get the value from number, and again x dot cost, and I'll get the value for cost. Is this thing is valid or not? Is this thing valid or not? Anyone? Or should I not ask you anything? You won't reply anything? Yes, Michelle is saying it is not valid. Right? Why it is not valid? Because I have declared my number and cost as a private one. Right? I have declared this number and cost as a private one. So the private variables are not accessible outside of the class. Getting this thing? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So how I can give the values to my private variables? How I can give the values, because this is the bad idea. This I cannot. Now what I should do? How I can give the value to my number and cost? So for that, what I'll do, I'll take one integer variable over here, one float variable over here, that is b, and now what I'll do is I'll take these values from the user, this a and b. So this I can, right? Because this is my variable from integer me, integer a, float b, and here I'm taking these values from the user, that please enter one value as an integer for number and one value as a float for the cost. User have entered, I have captured those values inside this a and b, and now what I'll do is I'll call my function, which is get data. I've called my function with my values a and b, and inside this function what I'm doing, number is equals to a, cost is equals to b. So ultimately my number and cost will be having whatsoever the user have entered. Say suppose user have entered integer a is equals to 10 and float b is equals to 20.5. So ultimately after calling this function x dot get data, because this function is the public one and I can call it with the use of object, I can do this. So here I'm doing this number is equals to a and cost is equals to b. So ultimately I'm doing number is equals to 10 and over here cost is equals to 20.5. This is what I'm doing. Fine. So ultimately this two private variables would be having my numbers. So indirectly I've done this because directly was not possible. So indirectly I did this. Getting this thing? Fine. Hopefully you are getting. Okay. So this is what we are doing. Now the same way I would be having one another function, that is void put data, right? And in put data I am simply printing my value, right? Input data, I'm simply printing my value. So what should I do? I'll simply copy this function, void put data, void put data. But how you can define it outside of the class? With the label of the class and scope resolution operator. So I'll write like this, okay, outside of the class, and here I'll do cout number is equals to, and here I'll print number because it is already having the value now, and here cost is equals to, and I'm having cost over here, so that's it. And here I'll call that function x dot put data. Simple. Getting the thing? Yes or no? Fine. Then inside the class definition, that what I've explained you, when a function is defined inside a class, it is treated as an inline function. I told you that I'll give you the reason that why we are not writing the function inside the class every time. It is always a good practice that you are writing your functions outside of the class. And why you are writing your function outside of the class? Because if I will write my function inside the class, then it will by default treated as an inline function. Okay? That is why I am writing always my function outside of the class. Because these functions are very small, it's not using any for loop or something like that, right? It is not recursive. So it will be treated as an inline by default, though I am not requesting by the keyword inline. But it will be treated as an inline. So what is the disadvantage of the inline? It will take the extra memory space. Why? Because just like the macro, wherever your function call is there, your function will be expanded over there. Though it would be good for the efficiency because it would be the speedy one, right? But each and every time I don't want my function as an inline, right? Because it will take extra space, memory space. So from this unit to your last unit, what you will do in your class and object, wherever you are making any of the program with the class and object, at that time you are writing your functions outside of the class only every time. Okay. So this is the reason. One mark it can be asked that why we are not defining our function inside. Because my function will be treated as an inline if I'll write inside. So better I'll write my function outside of the class. Right? Now the characteristics of a member function. So several different classes can use the same function name. So the membership label will resolve their scope. My each and every class would be having the same function name, that is get data. So how I can identify whose get data function is this, from which class, right? So that is why I need the label, that item scope resolution operator, and then only my function name. Member functions can access the private data of the same class, and a non-member function cannot do this. So member functions can access the private data. So that is why here I am using my private data as it is like number and cost, because this put data is a function or it's a member of the class item only, and they can easily use number and cost, right? Because they are also the member. But non-member function means outside of the class, any other classes cannot directly use my functions or my private members. A member function can call another member function directly without using the dot operator. This is called the nesting of a function, which is our next topic. Okay. So here, making the function outside as an inline function, you have seen the inline function topic, but that is in a third unit where we were not having the concept of class and object. So if now in a class and object theory, if I'm saying that make any function as an inline, so one way is that you are defining your function inside the class only, then it will be treated automatically as an inline. But what if I want to make my function definition outside of the class and I want to make it inline? So simply just put the word inline in front of the function. So the function is inline now, right? If I want to make this get data function as an inline, what I need to do? I have to put this inline keyword in front of the function definition, right? So this will be treated as an inline. Getting my point? Yes or no? So this is how you can write your function as an inline function. Then here I'm having one another very simple class example. Class employee, I'm having integer salary, I'm having void salary as a function. See out, enter the salary, see in the salary and see out your salary is this. That will be printed. So very first task in integer main that I'll do is creating an object. So what is my class name? EMP. So here EMP and E, that is nothing but my object. And how I can call this function? With the use of object. So E dot salary. So here I'm calling the function with the use of dot operator and with the object, right? I hope you are getting the things. Okay. Only one person is replying, rest of the others are sleeping or what?
Yes, ma'am.
You are getting the things or not? Yes. Okay. Fine. Fine. Okay. So here, nesting of a member function. So a member function of a class can be called only by the object of that class using the dot operator, right? So however, there is an exception to that. We can even call the function without the dot operator, but only when we are calling that function from the another function, right? Not from the integer main. If you are calling your function from integer main, then you have to use the object and dot operator and then only you can call the function. But what if I am calling my function from the function only? Function calls another function. You know this thing from the C language only, right? So here, this is one example where I'm calling my function from the another function. So here I'm having one class set. Here I'm having integer m and n, that is my private variables. Here I'm having three function. One is input, one is display, and one is largest. Now, here in the largest, what I did is I've applied very simple things just to show you that how this function will be called. That is only my goal. If my m is greater than or equals to n, will simply return m. Otherwise, I'll return n. Here I'm having my one function input. So name itself suggests that I'm getting some input from the user. So I'm getting the value from the user as an m and n. Okay. I'm having over here display. The function name itself says what it will do. It will just display the things. But look at over here. What I'm displaying the largest number. And for that, I've just written see out the largest number is this, and directly I'm calling one function from my another function, that is display. So display is calling the function largest from its body part. So from here, the control will go on to this largest function. It will execute this. It will return with some value, and this will be printed over here. So from integer main, I have created the object of the set class, that is a, and here I am calling two functions, input and display, with the use of object only, that is a, right? But I'm not calling the function largest over here. Have you seen this? I've only called two functions, input and display. But from display only, I'm calling my largest function. So function is calling another function. So in that case, the object is not required. Getting my point? Yes or no? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So here your object is, yes, your object is not required and you can directly call the function like this, largest. But yes, if you want to call the same function largest from integer main, then you have to write your object, that is a dot largest. Okay, you have to. Fine. So this is another one, how your private member function will be called. This is the last example and then we will finish this session. So here is the integer m, here is the void read method, right? But these are the private one. Huh? This is I have declared as the private one. Now I am having as in public two methods, update and write. So what is inside my private? One variable, one function. What is inside the public? Two methods, that is update and write. So when I'm having this method outside of the function like void sample update, this update function is calling my read function. This update function is calling my read function from its body only, right? And in integer main, when I'll try to do this sample s1, this is the object of my sample class. And when I'm doing s1 dot read, it will show me an error. Why? Why? Because read is the private one and I cannot directly use the private member from the integer main. So s1 dot read will not work. Instead of that, what I'm doing, s1 dot update. So when I'll do s1 dot update, this update function will be called and that will call the read. So that is fine. That is fine. But I cannot directly call the read. So private members can be indirectly accessible through the public members of the class, but it should be of the same class. Okay, getting my point where I'm using this nesting member functions, because you will see that okay, this one is the public one, then why we are calling this from this. You can even call a dot largest, right? But some of the situation where your member function is a private one, you have to call it from the public function only. That is only the option, right? Okay. So this is how you can implement nesting of the function. I hope you don't have any doubt in this session. Is it so? Then you can ask me. Even if you are having any doubt, you can ask me in the next session. So I hope this
Ma'am,
is
where
clear
we
to
use
you guys. Yes or no,
ma'am,
please.
where we use these private functions?
Yes, Harsh.
Ma'am, where we
So
use these
this is
private
what I'm
functions?
saying. Where your function. Yes, Harsh. That what I'm replying. That wherever you would be having your private function. So why you are making your data private? Very simple question I'm asking. Why you are making your data as a private? Because you don't want others to access your data directly, right? That is why you are making your function as a private one. So that will be only accessible from your public functions, not directly. That private function will be accessible from integer main. So at that time, this nesting of the function is the only solution. So you can have your private member function will be called from the public one, right? So this is only the answer, that why you are making it as a private, why you are making private your member variables. So same answer for the member functions, because you don't want to give the direct access to that function, right, Harsh?
Okay.
I hope I have solved your
Okay.
query. Okay, Harsh. Yeah, fine. So you can write it down your enrollment number, and that's all from my side. Thank you.